The sun. Waiting for the sun to rise, waiting for the sun to fall. These two are different. Waiting for the sun is what remains the same. There are things in life that change, and there are things that never do. We tend to think of the sun as one of the constants, the same ball of fire in the sky, rising in the east, setting in the west, warmth, light, life. But the fragment tells a different story, not about the sun itself, but about waiting for it. Not about the rise or the fall, but about what we do in between. Waiting for the sun to rise, waiting for the sun to fall. These two are different. Waiting for the sun is what remains the same. At first glance, it sounds poetic, gentle, almost like a haiku stretched thin over a thought. But the longer I sit with it, the more I feel the weight hidden in the stillness. There is something being said here, not about astronomy, but about hope, routine, and the ache of expectation. The double waiting. The line divides waiting into two categories, waiting for the rise and waiting for the fall. Now think about that. To wait for the sun to rise is a hopeful act. It implies darkness, a longing for warmth, for light to return, for the day to begin. It's forward-leaning. It carries anticipation, even optimism. We wait for the sunrise after a long night. We wait for it when we are trying to start again. We wait for it when we believe, somewhere deep, that the day will give us another chance. But waiting for the sun to fall, that's something else. That waiting is heavier, still, maybe even sorrowful. It's the kind of waiting you do when the work is done, when you're tired, when all that's left is the long shadow of what's already happened. It's a kind of release, perhaps, or maybe resignation. You're not waiting to begin. You're waiting to stop. So the fragment says, wisely, these two are different, and they are. One leans into life, the other leans out, but then the voice delivers its deeper insight. 2. The constant thread. Waiting for the sun is what remains the same, no matter whether you wait for light or for dark, for birth or for death, for something to start or something to end. You are waiting. And that, my friend, is the condition we rarely speak of. Not the sun, not the event, not the change, but the waiting. 3. What is waiting, really? Waiting is a kind of stretching. It pulls at the hours. It marks time not by the clock, but by longing. We wait for so much in this life. For someone to call. For something to begin. For pain to pass. For love to arrive. For truth to finally show itself. And in each of these there is a sunrise and a sunset. But while we focus on what we're waiting for, we miss the shape of waiting itself. It becomes the fabric of our life. And so the fragment delivers its quiet twist. These two are different. Waiting is what remains the same. No matter what direction the sun is going, up or down, we're still paused, still looking, still hoping, or dreading, or anticipating. We live in the space between what was and what will be. That space, that's where we become who we are. For the illusion of change. Now here's the deeper truth. The world teaches us that movement matters, that change is everything. Chase the sunrise, grieve the sunset, move to the next thing. But what if the real movement is internal? What if the true transformation is in how we wait? The same sun moves through the sky, but a man at dawn is not the same man at dusk, and yet he has waited both ways. So we must ask, what kind of waiting are we doing? Passive, fearful, hopeful, restless, grateful, because in the end, the sun will do what it does. But how you meet it, that changes everything. Waiting as a mirror. Let me offer you something. Waiting reveals character, not when things are happening, not when the light floods the room, but when there is nothing, when it's just you and the horizon and the long ache of stillness. That's when the soul speaks. Some wait with clenched fists, some with open hands, some with bitterness, some with patience, some sing, some curse, some make art from the shadows, but we are all, in one way or another, waiting for the sun. That is the common thread between kings and beggars, lovers and widows, dreamers and doubters. We wait. We look east. We look west. And we live somewhere between those two gestures. The sun is a symbol, not a star. I don't think this fragment is talking about the sun as a flaming orb in the sky. I think it's talking about something we orbit in our hearts, the light we hope for, the end we fear, the moments we mark with expectation. And what if the real wisdom is not in the event, but in our relationship to the wait? Think about it. You wait for joy, and you become softer. You wait for grief, and you become brave. You wait for healing, and you learn patience. You wait for answers, and you become a better question. The sun doesn't define you. The waiting does. 7. One last turn. Let me make this personal. I've waited for the sun in both directions. I've counted hours in the dark, desperate for some proof that morning still comes. I've watched sunsets knowing a chapter was ending, and not knowing if I could survive the night. And in both, I've come to realize something sacred. Waiting is not the absence of action. It is the crucible where faith, character, and imagination are formed. It's what we do while nothing is happening that defines everything that will happen next. And that's why this line, so simple, so spare, is so devastating. Waiting for the sun is what remains the same. Because it reminds us, we are not defined by whether the sun is rising or falling. We are defined by how we stand, quiet, open, or trembling, in the pause between.